Welcome to First Responder Financial Freedom Podcast. We talk to first responders all over the nation who are investing and working on businesses outside their first responder jobs. Our goal is to motivate and educate each other and help provide a better financial understanding for a better future. Now here are your hosts, Mike Webb, Tyler Thrush, and Aaron Foster.
Let's go. We got Tyler, Mike, me, Aaron, obviously, and we got a new face today, Sean Percy Travis. He's a face made for television, whereas we are all faces made for the radio. So thank you, Sean, for making us all look good and hopping on here with us. Sean's a former firefighter in LA County. He started in 2012. He retired last year after 10 years. Before that, he was an ambulance jockey over in LA County. And now he's doing coaching and e-com and a couple other things. So I really appreciate you hopping on here with us and actually showing up, which our last guest did not show up. So appreciate you actually taking the time to hang out with us today.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Thank you.
So tell me, let's start with where you started at. Obviously, you were an ambulance dude, ambulance driver, leading up before you got hired by LA County for the fire side. So what did you do before leading up to that point?
Ooh, okay. Going back a ways. So went to university, went to college in LA, played a couple years of baseball, was very science oriented. And without getting too deep down that rabbit hole, went pre-med, applied to medical schools, got into some what's it called? Medical programs, and got put on hold. So what I mean by that is my dad, my cousins, like anyone who had been in the medical field said, give it a year, like take your time and actually research what you really, really want to do. Because I'd been in school so much, and I got very attracted to the fire service because it held the same team aspect as sports and then the same medical and science aspect as medicine. I'm like, holy cow, I didn't even know that job could have, there was a job out there that had that total experience. So I started the long haul. This was back in 07, 08 of getting my EMT and just starting the process of getting on with the departments. And if you guys were in the system during that time, trying to get hired on any job, really didn't matter if it was first responder or what. But after the 08 crash, you literally had to pay people to be an intern. It was nuts. So it was a few years. So did a few years doing 911 ambulance in LA County, which you guys are familiar, right? All your ambulances in LA County are actually private, unless you're with LA City or specific, right? A couple different departments. But so I was actually getting 911 experience, first responder experience for a few years. And then finally, lo and behold, when it rains, it pours, got a job offer from a few different departments, and I chose LA County. So
I heard that LA County is now made for TV.
Dude, they're pushing out a good TV show. I don't know if you guys are watching, but yeah.
What is it?
I forget what it's called, but the whole point was there would have been a few failing TV shows to kind of show what the real life world of first responders are. And they're really trying to hone in on like the station life and what these guys are actually doing and getting in and out of. So, yeah.
Yeah.
In the back of one of the ambulances at the firehouse, they took a as seen on TV sticker and put it in the back of the ambulance. I thought that was hilarious.
Oh, there you go.
That's awesome.
I think you sent it to me.
Yeah, they put it on the back of Squad 16. They put the as seen on TV.
That's funny.
That's amazing. Dude, nothing goes without humor in that place, huh?
Nope.
I love it.
Nothing's missed.
All right, so where did you play ball at LMU?
Yeah, just a couple years. So I don't have many stats if you look me up, but made the team, got on there. But yeah, I got burned out.
Yeah, my cousin was a pitcher at University of Maryland. His boy is, I think he just turned 16, and he's almost at the 90-mile-an-hour fastball. So he went to Maryland to chat with the coaches a couple weeks ago, and he'll get picked up. He's going to go scholarship to one of the bigger names colleges, probably.
Awesome, good for him. Yeah.
One word advice.
Don't let him close his door. Don't like I walked out. Don't let anyone make him play until they tell him no.
Yeah, that's his thing. He quit hockey just because he was like, I need to focus on baseball. Like that's my future course. His grandfather, my uncle, he played pro as well. That's a whole other story though. But baseball is kind of in the family. So it's cool to see that you have that teammate mentality. Like we're a team that works together. Because you see some people, I don't know about y'all's departments, but in mine, we have these guys coming on like me, myself, and I got here and I did this and I don't need y'all's help. Like, I don't know, man. Like the mentality has changed in the department in the last 25 years that I've been in the fire department. And it seems like a lot of that us mentality versus me mentality has changed. And Tyler likes to call it the IGM guys. I got mines.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, yeah, and that's the thing. I don't think you get a lot of that with guys who have a background in sports or, even prior military service, because you have to operate out the same thing. But you can tell, Aaron, like you said, if it changes, because a lot of people are so self-focused that they're not, oh, hey, I'm part of a bigger team here.
I was talking to some FDNY guys. This is probably a decade ago, and they actually focus on going after minor league players, 2A guys, semi-pro football players, because they know how to work in a team atmosphere. And I was like, that's kind of smart. Like maybe my fire department should start going after some of these guys. I know in Mike's area, that's one of the feeder teams plays baseball up by his first due area that feeds into what was the
Orioles.
Is the Orioles? Yeah. So if they don't make the team one year, maybe they should come join the fire department. It's a good marketing ploy, I think.
I don't know. I think we're doing okay, but I think some places it's like, oh, you can fog a mirror. Let's go. Come on over, buddy. But cool, man.
So, all right. So let's transition this. So you did the pre-med thing, the baseball thing, got your EMT around 07, 08. Then you're like, you know what? I'm going to ride an ambulance in LA and try to get hired. Is that about right?
Yes, sir.
All right. So, here we go with the fucking sir stuff.
I can't break it.
I appreciate it. So now we're transitioning into the fire department. What made you want to go from ambulance jockey to I want to ride a fire truck? I want to be a Jake.
That's like an easy question, probably.
Softball, here you go,
because
man.
you did 24 hours on an ambulance, you all of a sudden now don't want to do that, and you want to ride a fire engine.
Yeah,
I'm throwing softballs, man. Knock them at the park.
It is a quick taste in reality, I'll tell you that. Yeah, I mean that was always the goal, right? You ride an ambulance to get your feet wet in the medical experience, and it's immediately an incentive to I want to ride Big Red, right? I want to be the medic. I want to be part of that big team and that big culture, like that, like. In all obviousness, not only that, I think it was making $8.40 an hour. Like, yeah,
good Lord, that's like a gallon of gas out there, isn't it?
Sure, yeah, barely. Jeez, yeah. So it was. I was working 3 jobs at the time. I was a caterer. I was doing part-time with medical device sales, and I was doing EMT. So
the medical device sales, was that like I'm gonna do this to make ends meet and make sure that I have enough coming in?
Yeah,
but my focus is going to be Big Red, or would that? The medical sales make some good money.
Oh, they do. Yeah, and I always said it's a great. I'm not saying it's a fallback job, but for me, in my priority line at the time, it was a great fallback job. If I ever got injured, if I ever couldn't perform or failed the academy or for whatever reason, I was like, okay, I can lean back on that because they do great and they do great work. You're in the operating room. I was doing ortho, like it was amazing. So good gig for sure.
I always like that when people say like my priorities, like you knew at a young age that I have to prioritize what I want to do. Like it might not be the money and getting dressed up and doing medical sales. It might be getting dirty and running calls and getting yelled at by y'all's crazy ass LA people. I mean, that's what you want to do though. Like a lot of people they don't know what their priorities are. Sometimes it's like, I want to make money. Well, how? It doesn't matter. Okay, then start at OnlyFans, even though guys don't get equal pay on there. It just depends on like what your priorities are, and your priorities are obviously you might not make as much, but you're going to have more fun and better quality life.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not going to toot my own horn here, but just to say where my priorities were.
Toot it, bro. Toot.
Okay, toot away. No, ever since I was 12, I'd been involved in like service organizations, heavily involved in my church, doing like lots of service trips. So I always knew money wouldn't be my main goal. It would always be like, how can I serve? And it was kind of a no-brainer, coming out of school thinking, first responder, like who serves the most? Like literally, first off, the team mindset is completely necessary because we literally do nothing alone. So to have an IGM or whatever solo mentality is so ridiculous. Like nothing that goes on anywhere in any job, especially the first responder world, is alone. So it's kind of strange, irony, but being able to dive in and like literally the only reason you're there, the only reason you're at the station is for the other. That's it. So like total service.
So then you got in the fire department, you're being a Jake, and then what changed?
I think, as we grow, so do our priorities and so do our goals and our ambitions. I always had the ambition and drive to start my own business. And back when I was 22, 24, 26, I mean, that's a cool phrase. I had no idea what that actually means, but it just sounded cool. Like I wanted to run my own thing that like, build the kingdom, expand the kingdom, right? Was something that like grew, had no ceiling, could provide massively for my family, could, impact thousands, if not who knows, one day millions of people, right? Just thinking on that mindset. And so was always trying to figure out some kind of quote unquote side hustle to, scratch that itch, so to speak. So the whole time I was trying to figure out side gigs. Like I remember for a while we were trying to do, and it actually probably would have hit well, almost got up and running, but doing a paramedic led IV service, like you can go to the IV clinics now and get like, banana bags or, get saline or get whatever recovery solutions. I actually do that like led by paramedics, the guys who are actually doing all the sticks in the field, and probably pay them a little less, they'll be stoked on like some cool bonuses. And so I even like almost pulled that off, didn't quite get through because there were some licensing things in LA County. Doesn't mean it can't be done, but then built out a couple other online things, which, went up, went down, failed a little bit, got into real estate investing, have had some success there. Love that venture for long-term play, long-term goals, and then got in the econ game. And before I jump into that rabbit hole, any questions like so far? Because that was
going to say, let's hold off on that because that's going to be like the meat and potatoes of this conversation. So for me, like my transition point for looking outside the fire department was I've got hurt a couple times in the job, and one was I destroyed my ankle. I had 8 anchors put in to reattach everything. They tried to retire me. My retirement looked like $18,000 a year. Any dollar you make over that, take 50 cents off of the $18,000 a year. And then I had 2 friends die in the fire service. One was line of duty death, and the other one was a suicide. And I watched some people step on I call it step on their heads, but use their deaths to make themselves look better for promotion. And that really, really bothered me for a long, it still does bother me. And like, I was like, okay, I still do my job. I still enjoy my job. I got 5 years left before I can retire. This is year 25 for me. So for me, I was like, what else can I do where if something does happen, my wife and now my son is taken care of. And for me, it was real estate, and I own some side businesses. Like obviously my office is an absolute disaster right now because it's Christmas season and I'm making a bunch of retirement plaques and ornaments and other stuff. So like for me, I wanted to have a couple different things lined up just in case. And it sounds like you had the same mindset was, well, let me have this backup, and this is a backup, and this is going to springboard me, and this is an opportunity, and you were taking it on. And Tyler and I talk about this on a semi-regular basis. Like now what you're going through, facing your injury, like you were like, I got to hit real estate harder. I got to hit mortgages harder. Like, are you the same mindset now? Has it changed?
For me?
Me or Tyler?
Tyler.
No, it's the same. I mean, and as like this whole thing progresses, I realize like how important it is, because I have to put food on the table. I have to provide for the kids. And then even like, for my retirement would look different now versus if I retired at 55. So it's interesting. I was just texting with my accountability partner this morning, like, dude, I got to get on it. And to that point, Aaron, I usually take Thanksgiving to Christmas or to New Year's. I don't really work that hard at all. I get my licensing done and then I chill. But this year I told him like, I'm not doing that. It's pedal to the metal because I gotta start thinking like, hey, this is how I'm going to provide for my family, maybe until I do retire at some point. So no, it's the same thing. And when I got hired on, I never intended to do a mortgage again. And then the day after probation, people started hitting me up for loans at the fire department, and it grew. And so, yeah, now I'm definitely taking it a lot more seriously. So.
How about Mike? I mean, Mike, you've been pedal to the metal for years now. You're just transitioning it was flip, house. And now it's kind of like, well, let's try something else. Let's try storage unit facilities. Let's try this. Like, what was your transition point?
From just getting into something, or
Yeah,
just
like
from changing gears?
changing gears or picking something new to focus on, or
So
or
I
something shiny.
always had an entrepreneurial spirit, like ever since I was younger. Like I had my own car detailing business, all that kind of stuff. And then um, I just got into real estate whenever I was early on in the fire service, just because I realized how much money I didn't make and how much everything cost when you had a family. So I was like, well, I got to do something. And I was working part-time riding an ambulance for less money after I got off work at the firehouse. So um, got into buying rentals, then started wholesaling, then started flipping, went hard at all of those for a little while. And then about a year to 2 years ago, that's whenever I shifted gears a little bit and focused on hard money lending and buying the storage facilities. So, but now still do some of the other things I previously mentioned. So I think you go hard, but then eventually you're like, okay, they always say, like, you got to be balanced. And I don't really believe that that's possible. Like, I don't think you can be 100% balanced in all quadrants of your life. And I was getting a little heavy in the business side and like lacking in some other things. So I just tried to level out by doing a little bit different approach and hopefully get the same result. Basically meaning the hard money lending, for example, requires a lot less time from me being physically away, but financially provides about the same return I was getting by doing X, Y, or Z. So at a certain point, you just realize, dude, I only got 24 hours, just like you three dudes only got 24 hours, and you got to figure out how to maximize that time the best you can.
I'm going to try to give a lead up example. So like, I'm at a slow firehouse now, and it's my body and my sleep and everything else has gotten better. My health has gotten for the most part better, and I'm not hurting as much as I used to be. So you can work at an extremely, extremely busy firehouse and get the shit kicked out of you running 30, 40 runs a day, but you're going to get paid the same as I do running 5, 6, 7, 8 runs a day, maybe. So like, cost per run might be a little bit better on this side of town. I'm just saying, but like, that's one of the things you got to think of. No matter how hard you work, your pay is not going to change unless you promote. So you can project, like I did a spreadsheet for our guys in DC a couple weeks ago, and I showed them if over the course of the last 15 years, this has been our pay raises for our contracts. On average, it's about 3% a year. So if you average out 3% a year the rest of your career, and then 3% COLAs, the raises after we retire, this is going to be your projection for the next 10, 15 years. And it's going to get you in the ballpark. It might not be spot on, but like, no matter how hard you work, you're going to get that 3% for the next however many years you have in your career, and then another 3% every year after that, no matter how hard you work. But if you start putting that focus and energy and time into something else, you can actually grow that. So to Sean's point, like, he wanted to have something that was his, that he could grow, that he could put his name onto it, and it could be as big or as little as he wanted it to be. And if he works harder, then there's a good chance that he's going to make more money on the back end by working harder.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's exponential. It's not linear, right?
Yeah,
an hour to $1 is that's your shift work. But an hour.
I'm just trying to break it down for the cops, man. The cops listen to this. Come on.
Yeah, yeah. 1 hour equals 1 hour of pay versus.
Yeah, 100%. So you
said linear versus what?
Say it again.
What'd you say? Linear versus what?
Exponential, right?
Linear versus exponential. I like that.
If I work 24 hours, I'm getting work, whether it's overtime or not, right? I'm getting 24 hours of overtime or I'm getting 24 hours of regular. That's linear. Does not matter. There's no bump. There's no random bonus. There's nothing. And it also doesn't matriculate over time. Whereas if I put in 100 hours up front on my own business, I may or may not get paid, but then the next 100 hours might be worth 10,000 hours worth of work. That exponential, that upside down bell curve. So that's where you truly build, truly grow, more than 3% a year, right?
I love that explanation. And I love even more that you broke it down for the cops listening.
That's for Tommy Williams right there.
That's awesome.
So like all right, so now you're like, okay, I'm going to start looking at e-com. This is going to make this my own. At what year did you start doing that?
2018.
Okay,
Yeah,
so you were So you're 6 years into the fire side plus your ambulance years, and you're like, let me start looking at making something my own, right?
Yep. Yes,
How did
sir.
you start?
Started with, and I guess I'll backtrack a little bit. Started with Functional Hero, which is more of a passion project right now, but it's a direct program for the health and wellness for first responders. And one of the big reasons why, I had the inspiration to look elsewhere also for income and for job. So you guys familiar with the incentive graph where you can have a goal, but if you also have a negative experience that you're running from, if you combine both, that's the most incentive ever. And so break that back. They did this test with a rat in a maze, and they had a piece of cheese at the end of the maze, and the rat would figure it out and get to the piece of cheese. And then they did one without the piece of cheese and did it with a cat at the beginning of the maze, and the rat would run through and get through a little bit quicker. And they're like, oh, interesting. So if they have like something that they don't want to get back to, they want to like get out, it's actually more incentive than just having like a golden nugget. Then they combined the two, and the experience was like 10 times as quick. So by not only having the incentive of cheese, but also having I want to get the hell away from the cat, or this experience that I don't want to ever be part of again, combining those two made that incentive literally 10 times faster. And so that being said, created Functional Hero, and there was kind of a two-part to it. One is I wanted to combat the lack of sleep, the overstress, right? You're overstressed and underrested nonstop, and we can get into the science of that, or you can just literally Google, but you're literally killing yourself day by day, slowly, just piece by piece, getting injured, getting, less recovered. So I wanted to combat that, but it was also, and the incentive there was to be healthy, right? How do we be like our healthiest selves, showing up our best at work and at home? But it was also the big hits of suicide being the number one cause of death for us. And me personally also, and I know we all have this, we've lost friends to suicide or guys on the job. And it sucks. Like that's a big fucking deal. And a lot of people weren't visiting that, and it kind of gets like, skated by. But that was the thing. I never wanted to be anywhere. I didn't want to go down that road. So if one man can do it, so can I. And that's a big realization we need to all have. If one man can get to that point, so can I. So how do we prevent that? So I started creating that programming Functional Hero. So all those incentives, if that all tracks in, right? I didn't want any of us ever going down that road. I didn't want any of us going down that road of burnout and possibly to depression, anxiety, and to the worst. But I also wanted us to figure out ways to heal ourselves and like be the best version of ourselves. And, it's through central nervous system health and all this stuff. So started with the Functional Hero programming. That was my first e-com-esque business that did all right. And financially speaking, did all right, did very well. I've given a lot of programming to a lot of guys, and there's a lot of stuff out there now to help with this resiliency and, getting back your health, getting back your nervous system. But then it pushed into products and goods, and e-com specifically with Amazon, Walmart, Etsy, Shopify, like actually creating your own brand and how to literally create a product, make it really, really cool, offer a lot of value, and then sell the shit out of it and actually see where that goes, and that there is quite literally no ceiling on that. That's where that golden nugget became massive. And I could dive into that, but I mean, yeah, it poured in.
I was going to say, well, yeah, so that you should dive in a little bit, because Mike and I both had a negative experience with our foray into Amazon and Walmart. But the thing that we were in was kind of like an arbitrage play between buying stuff on Amazon and then reselling it on Walmart. And it was popular for a second. It blew up. And then just as fast it went away. And it was like a significant financial investment for us. Whereas what you're just explaining, and which I like, is you're talking about building a brand, something that you own. You can sell it, and there's no fear or repercussion of having your store shut down, stuff like that.
Yes,
and
exactly.
There's no limit. And to your point, we're so trained on shift work, hour for money, but now you're talking about exponential growth. So
correct.
How did you learn how to do that? Was it because of the Functional Hero, or did you Did you go on YouTube? Did you Google it? Like, what did that process look like?
Yeah. YouTube, Google, all that stuff. Probably just like you, started seeing all the ads about how to make money in real estate, how to make money in stocks, and then how to make money on Amazon. And I mean, I'm sure you're accustomed to this, especially in the real estate space, but like 9 out of 10 of those are like scams, you know, and like, give me $10 and I'll make you a millionaire. Never work a day in your life. Like, it's bullshit, right? Whereas we understand, especially coming from the background we do, that the hard work needs doing. Doesn't matter what it is. Like, the work just needs doing. Now, pick your skill. You know, if I want to be a restaurant owner, the work needs doing. If I want to be, you know, a software programmer, the work needs doing. But restaurant owner can have so much upside. A software programmer can literally sell for hundreds of millions. So pick the skill and now do the work. And I'd been doing real estate. I didn't have a ton of interest in stocks and ebbs and flows there, but the Amazon game looked really, really cool. And it's, understand, Amazon is e-com entirely. So it's just one of the platforms. So when you learn on Amazon, you're actually starting to learn how to sell across all platforms, and quite literally mean there's no ceiling. I was just at a conference last week in New York, and I'm rubbing elbows with guys, and I get this as a unicorn status, but they're clearing 650 to 700 million a year in income. And I know that's just like ridiculous. So the whole point of that inspiration was to be like, oh, there literally is no ceiling. Holy cow.
What country's GDP was that?
Yeah, that was a person. So yeah, exactly.
How much? 650 million a year?
Correct. And there was multiple of these guys.
Like, even if that's your top line, I mean, you're still probably doing okay.
Yeah. Yeah, you're doing all right. So we found a very reputable course. It's no longer in existence, but we found a good coaching course, and there is a key term right there, is coach. So have someone to lean on, have a coach, have a, you know, accountability partner, have someone that you can bounce ideas off of so that you're being guided through the process. Because although knowledge is more available than ever before in the existence of mankind, it is a vast world out there of, you know, how do I find myself? How do I locate the correct knowledge and then apply it in this like massive ether of the internet? And so I got on a good coaching course. My wife actually started a couple months ahead of me, and she inspired me to go directly to Amazon and figured that out first before doing the whole e-com game. And took us probably 18 to 20 months before we started our first sale. So it can take a long time. I've since truncated that down to anywhere from 4 to 6 months because we know what we're doing now. But we learned the difference between the major ways to sell online are arbitrage, wholesale, and then white label, and then creating your own brand. Now, which one has the most upside? What do those all mean? Arbitrage is I go and buy something on discount, on sale, right? Bed Bath & Beyond, when they were still in business, might have had some like liquidation sale and selling something for 60% off because they're just clearing out their stores. Well, you can go buy 1,000 of those items, arbitrage it, meaning I'm quite literally just going to take all 1,000 of those and sell them online now for an uptick. Instead of 60% off, I'll sell them to my customers for 10% off, and it flies through. And look, I made that margin, right? But you don't own that product. You don't own that brand. You don't own anything about it. And as soon as you're out of inventory, you're done. The hustle starts over again. Now I could possibly do wholesale or white labeling. Wholesale is where I find someone else's product. So I go to, I don't know, bad example, but good example, Nike shoes, right? And I want to sell Nike shoes on a platform. I can buy them as a reseller for a percentage off, let's just say 30% off. And then I can go on my store and sell them at the 100% price. Thus I make that margin. However, I don't own the product. I don't own the brand. Every time I need to move it, right? It's another hustle. Same with white label. White label is I took quote unquote a Nike shoe and just put my own brand name on it. I don't own the shoe. I don't own how it's made. I don't own anything about it. And at any time, Nike could be like, hey, you're done. Now, if we want to build our own brand, that means taking something like, just for a super simple example, I've used this before, is like a coffee mug. We all know coffee mugs. We all know there's, 500 different styles and types out there. But what if, for whatever reason, we found out that people started wanting 2 handles on their coffee mugs, right? They're drinking gallon mugs and they want both handles, but that doesn't exist out there. Well, I can be one of the first guys to market. I can say, hey, I'm taking the coffee mug. I'm not reinventing the wheel. I'm just making it better. I'm putting a second handle on it. I'm possibly going to own that IP. That might be patentable, might be, trademarkable. It might be a copyright thing I could do around that to now own IP. I can now name it my product under my brand that I own, my LLC that I own. And now I control that entire market. I control, how I make that product. I control how long I want to sell that product. I can control if I want to sell wholesale to other people. So now I own that storefront. And not only am I making way more margin on it, right? I'm not just making the upsell margin. I'm making, from actual production, which is usually, if I'm selling something for $30, it probably costs me around 5 or 6 to make. So that margin is big. I can sell that possibly to wholesale to others, or I can do it on Amazon, or I could sell it to, on D2C, which is your Shopify stores, your Instagram, your TikTok, when you're buying all that stuff.
Is that direct to consumer? D2C?
Yeah, direct to consumer. As well as that brand that I now made, that let's call it, fit for you brand, is sellable like a house is, like a rental property. That brand, although it's creating monthly income for me with all my sales, at some point or another, I can go to some aggregator fund or some, private equity fund. And there are websites, Empire Flippers. There's like a bunch out there where people list their storefronts for sale at a 4 to 5x, meaning 4 to 5 years of average profits. Whatever that value is, that's your sale price. So to make numbers easy, if I'm profiting $100,000 a year, I could sell that storefront for $500,000. So you have all these options, and that's where true growth comes from. That's where leveraging comes from. That's where it takes longer to do, right? It's a lot longer to develop that product, develop the brand, break into sales, grow those sales and scale it and then sustain it. But the upside is there's no ceiling, right? Like I said, I literally just met guys making over $600-700 million a year. Like there's literally no ceiling. So
in comparison, I just looked at the GDPs, and $650 to $700 million is higher than at least 7 countries in the world.
Yeah,
that's insane.
It is. Yeah, because
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, one of the things that I still can't imagine, and I mean, if you can picture this in your mind, then you got a hell of a mind. But to understand the volume that's moving out there just take North America, for example, and that's Canada, US, and Mexico. We're talking like 400 plus million people. Like, I don't know what that actually means. Like the volume that is moving on the ether of the interwebs is beyond anything I can understand. So if I just want to move, if I'm just trying to move 30 units a day, I'm selling to 400 million people. Like it doesn't compute in my head. So the whole point is like, there is no ceiling. It's amazing. Bring something of value, make it your own, and get out there.
So how do you do the R&D? Like, how do you know that the 2-handled jug mug is what we need?
Right. Know? Yeah. Right. I don't suggest that. I don't think a 2-handled jug mug is awesome, but 7-Eleven has a great version. But
the Beatus cup.
Yeah, the diabetes gallon. That's where you learn the skill. So the skill of product discovery. There's a bunch of back-end programs that we use, just to name a few: Helium 10, Jungle Scout, Zonguru, really great platforms that'll read the back end of Amazon specifically.
And that primarily focuses on like what the most ranked search terms are, right? Like,
correct.
Like if you use Helium, like you can sit there and see like, oh, everybody wants these, double-handled jug mug, and you can see basically the volume of searching for it, right?
Correct. Then you go in and you find, well, maybe it's oversaturated. Maybe there's 2,000 sellers selling this double-handed jug. Okay, maybe not a good product. However, you go in and you see, is there something that every single one of these is not correcting that everyone's complaining about? So you go in the negative reviews and you check, interesting, everyone says double jug, but none of them are double insulated or something like that, right? I'm just brainstorming, but interesting. So no one's doing double-handled, double insulated. Maybe I do that. And now you've brought a new thing with higher value to the market that's answering what everyone is asking for, but no one's doing. So that's your entry. And then you can do some more R&D product research, where we have a couple other programs. A good one is called IntelliV, but you can then product test without creating the product. You just put images up and then what your product would deliver. And then you compare it to a bunch of the high-end competitors in that space and see, based off of 1 to 10,000 customers, what they would choose and why they would choose.
So it basically puts it out there like, here's Sean's double mug jug, and like it looks online like it's available, and you kind of see what sort of reaction you get.
Correct.
I used to do that with ghost ads in real estate. Like when I wasn't sure if I could get a price for something, I would just put something that was very comparable to what I was thinking out there and see how many responses I got. Basically the same concept. That's back when Craigslist was OG.
Yeah, heck yeah.
So I want to give a perfect example. So everybody knows what Yeti is and Yeti mugs are, and this kind of goes hand in hand with the double handle jug mug. That's a mouthful. So Yeti had somebody working with them who's separated from the company, and now they created Arctic, RTIC. And it's kind of a knockoff brand, but it's the same exact quality. So Arctic and Yeti had the exact same model, style, design of every single one of the mugs, because the guy had left Yeti and gone to create this new brand. Then Yeti sued Arctic, won the lawsuit, and they had to change the design just a little bit. So then more people came to the market because they saw, okay, now there's Yeti, there's the Yeti knockoff, which is the Arctic, which is just as good quality because they're basically created the same exact way. And then other people started jumping in. I think Walmart sells one of the brands. I can't think of the name of it. And it's just like, okay, there is a market for it. It's a high demand market, and they just keep changing the design just a little bit to keep your interest. And they'll put stuff out to the market like, coming soon, we're going to have these coolers, because we know Yeti coolers are mint to buy. So Arctic is making the same ones, designs just a little bit less. So there's still a demand for it. It just doesn't have that name associated with it, even though they're building their own brand and people are realizing it's the same quality. Is that about sum it up?
Yeah. Very, very similar. Now imagine if Arctic created it in a way where they could own an IP as well. So IP, intellectual property, right? So Yeti obviously had it patented, probably design and utility, probably both at their level. So you cannot copy the utility, how it's used, how it's made, how it's whatever, like everything about the utility of the function, and then what it looks like. So the design. So Arctic, probably to get out of that and get out of that suit, probably just changed a little bit utility and a little bit design. That was enough. And now it's a new product. So that was, that's a situation where it's direct copy and paste. And then, obviously an actual employee of Yeti, so he knew all the design features. There might be some NDA breaches there, but in this example, you wouldn't want to go in a place where someone actually owns the IP. You would want to quite literally create something of value on your own. So let's take like a Yeti cooler, for example. Let's say none of them, and I'm just brainstorming here, but none of them had 4 wheels, right? So I would create a cooler with 4 wheels, right? Something like that's unique, that's new, that they didn't do before, as opposed to just copy pasting and seeing what you get away with. Like, create something better. Like, take the Yeti and make it better. And
you don't have to reinvent the wheel, just make the wheel with a couple more spokes.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. Exactly.
So one of the things you mentioned was if you work with a company like Nike and you get something at a 30% markdown price, and then you can resell it at wherever your store price is. So I have friends that own businesses that do this too. And sometimes the manufacturer will set the price. You are not allowed to sell this Yeti, Nike, Arctic cooler, shoes, whatever, lower than this price. This is the market price for it. Nobody across the board can sell it. So what your projections and your markup are allowed to be, and you're controlled by that versus having your own identity and items to mark up however much you want to. And if you are creating your own items, whatever it might be, then you can turn around and sell to somebody else to sell at whatever approved price that you agree upon.
Correct. Exactly. Yeah, because now you own all the IP, right? You own that product. Nike doesn't, Yeti doesn't, you do, because it's yours. You've created it.
I think the most famous person who's done this was Jordan. Like, Michael Jordan has made the most money off of patenting his own shoes. So they made a movie about this, that he got a contract to work with Nike and put his Jumpman logo on it, but he owned the rights to the logo. I think is how it played out. And now Nike and even Shaq, their name brands, they've made the most money out of anybody else off of these models because they own the intellectual property, the IP, the what everybody focuses on. They see, and they can rebrand it every year. They can turn around and say, okay, we're going to add this color or this design or whatever, and they can change it and control the market of their product.
Correct. Yeah, that brand awareness is key.
Yeah. I mean,
So
go ahead.
No, I was just curious. So you said, you go in, you develop this stuff, and then you go to market and sell, which you obviously have to advertise and market for. But before that, I mean, what are you carrying? Like, how many products at a time would be ideal for you? Like, if somebody's going to start doing this, like, do you start with one, see how it goes, and then grow from there? Is it better to have 4 or 5 different variations? Like, what are you guys looking to do as far as, like, you're doing this now and you're coaching for this now. So let's say you were going to coach one of your students. Like, how many products would be ideal for somebody just getting into this?
1 product with 2 variations. That's the perfect mix. Do something well and scale it deep and vertical, as opposed to spreading yourself thin. And I've made that mistake. We had too many products at launch, and for our own sellers, our own seller accounts. And there was one point 2 years ago where we were preparing for Q4, so all the holiday sales. So you have to pretty much overstock, and I had to do that across so many products that I didn't have a single dollar left of purchasing power for about 2 months, because it was all on inventory, all in the ocean. And
I was going to say, do you physically stock that, like, in your garage? We were talking in the last podcast, or is it you purchase it, and I think you just answered it by the way you just said it, is it's literally sitting in a seed container on a ship in the harbor. So it's getting probably sent directly to the Amazon warehouse and distributed from there, or are you taking possession of it, dealing with customs and all that crap? Or
no.
How does that look?
Yeah.
Like, it never actually comes to Sean's house
no.
and waits for you to box it up and ship it.
Hard no. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it's important to, like, highlight that,
Yeah.
because there are people that, like, have a podcast and they sell T-shirts out of their garage,
Sure.
and they get the kitchen table all lined up every Sunday night to stuff orders. That's not what we're talking about here.
Correct.
Let me tell you from experience that moving everything into your house sucks. I just did that per last podcast. I just moved an entire house into my house, and my wife loves it.
I can imagine, man. Yeah, that stuff spreads real quickly into every nook and cranny. No, this is where you hear the quote unquote drop shipping. So that's essentially what Amazon is the biggest drop shipper on the planet. Drop shipping is where you have your products and goods sent from the manufacturer straight to the warehouse, and the warehouse system then fulfills your order and receives returns and deals with customer service. You are never touching it. You're never fulfilling it. You don't have to deal with any of that, which is why they take a percentage of the fee. So 15% is their cut. But yeah, everything goes into, so when you're specifically selling on Amazon and you're an FBA seller, which is fulfilled by Amazon, so you can get on your Prime app and get it within 1-2 days, it's really quick. That means it's in one of the distribution centers of Amazon. So my product that I ordered from my manufacturer went directly in one of those distribution centers. It didn't come to my house. I didn't deal with customs. Like, my manufacturer, supplier, logistics trade, they did it all. And then it went directly to the warehouse. Then it's now available on Amazon Prime, Amazon app, where 50% of the internet buys products and goods. And I think it's 68% of first product searches start on Amazon across the country. So it is.
Does
it
say that the seller is Amazon? When you
no, it'll say the
fulfilled by.
Yeah, fulfilled by. It'll say fulfilled by Amazon, but it'll say sold by, and then you'll see some type of company name. So if it says,
should have my wife on here. She's actually an Amazon expert.
Nice. Okay.
Mainly an end user tester.
Yeah. Lots of Amazon boxes on your doorstep, huh?
But Amazon isn't just for, like, I mean, the average Amazon went after what's the arts and crafts website that everybody buys on Etsy. So like they're going after Etsy now too, because like if I wanted to, like, this is some woodwork that I made, is just an etched fire department patch that I can hammer out. I can send to Amazon and they can sell it if they want to. Like they're going after all markets to resale. Like, do I want to maintain a stock of these items No, I don't, because it's just going to take up space and I don't know when I'm going to use it. But if I can put it at a warehouse and they can sell and distribute it, then it might make more sense. But it depends on the product, because some of the product that sits in Amazon's warehouse diminishes in value and then the sales price percentage changes. Is that right?
Only your pricing is how you market. So what you're talking about with more customized products like that, or let's say they don't move as quickly, but you want to be on the Amazon channel, you can do what's called FBM, which is called Fulfilled by Merchant. And that means that's where you don't have the Prime, logo on your listing, and it's not shipped within 1 to 2 days. It's shipped from wherever you're shipping it from, wherever you're fulfilling it from. So if it's from your garage or if it's from your own 3PL warehouse, that's what Fulfilled by Merchant means. Now, a lot of companies do that, because if I have, for example, my own logistics, like I have my own warehouse, my own distribution center, and my margins on that are a lot more. So I'm not giving Amazon the full 15% take. They're just taking the referral fee. I can save a lot of money. I can handle logistics, and I can handle that 1 to 2 day delivery. I'll do that. So I can have that option to be FBA, which is Fulfilled by Amazon, where it's in the actual Amazon Prime warehouses, which you see all over the country, whether it's out in the Valley or by your Costco or whatever. Or I can do Fulfilled by Merchant, which is in my own wherever warehouse, and I'm in charge of shipping it. I'm in charge of returns, but I take more of the margin. So both are an option.
So my brother does the data center and the warehouse facility builds for Amazon. He's a superintendent for the company that does the build outs for him. And you'd be amazed how big these warehouses are and how few people run them. So he said on average, each building has about 8 people, and that's it. So their overhead is super low because everything is automated. And if you ever go inside of one of these things or have a chance to, I highly recommend it. If you like this kind of stuff, for lack of a better term, it's amazing to see how the logistics work and how few people it takes to run and how everything's automated. And like everything that Sean's talking about, like we're reinventing the wheel. We're just adding a spoke to that wheel because somebody else has done it. Now we're just trying to add something to it.
Mm-hmm. So, why does Amazon need you then? Why can't they just sit there and say, and I've heard of this, but I've never personally known of it happening, where, okay, say you sell these mugs now, Amazon sees they're doing well, they basically shadow ban you, and then they sell their own Amazon Basics version of your product now. Is there anything stopping them from doing that, to where they basically take your legwork and rip it off, and
right?
Then basically, what are you going to do? We're basically in the boat now. Tyler and I are in. Amazon calls the shots because it's their world, and you're at their mercy, right?
Yep. Great question. So that's why you create your own brand. If you have brand, it's called Amazon Brand Registry. So I'm an LLC with a trademark with my brand name, so that brand name cannot be copied. I'm now in brand registry. That now means my product cannot be copied by Amazon Basics. An example would be we had IP on a jewelry item, and Amazon did that exactly. It started moving really quickly. It was this cool ring holder necklace, patented, the patent holder, amazing human. Like, check them out. They're really cool gift for your wife, by the way. It's ring holder necklace. Look it up, Emily C. Great product. But the Amazon Basics started copying one of the designs, and they had missed somewhere in their legality that it was actually patented. I immediately reported them, and they immediately took it down, then resized it, renamed it, and it was on a whole other thing. But so they might try, but you are protected from that. Another example would be one of my wife's products is one of her many products is this cool, the mats that go under your pet food bowls and stands. She made really nice recyclable rubber, eco-friendly, home design, home decor, so it doesn't look like an eyesore in the corner, with these cool patterns and such. If Amazon tried to copy any of those patterns, which she has copyrighted, she could literally kick Amazon Basics off. The irony, right? It's their own platform, but they're infringing. They're doing something illegal, which Amazon never wants to promote. They want to promote free sales. They want to promote the free market. They don't want to promote illegal selling. So if you're ever infringing on IP, or you can prove, sometimes you don't even need a copyright or a trademark. You just say, look, this has been copy and pasted, without even having filed for it, you can still get it taken down. So that way, because you own your brand, you own that name, you own that product, you own the IP behind it. Like that's how you protect yourself so you can scale.
A friend of mine, he did well into six figures in sales of a advent calendar last year. It was basically the Nakatomi Plaza with the guy falling backwards after in the Die Hard movie. So every day in the advent calendar is a day closer to Christmas. It's Hans Gruber is the one who's falling off of the Nakatomi Plaza. So he made six figures making this, but then he started getting a lot of people knocking it off and doing this almost the same, but not exactly the same. Like they'd change the feet, or they would change the stand or something like that. And it was pissing them off. But I'm like, bro, how mad can you be that they're taking your design and modifying it a little bit, because it means that people are looking at your sales and trying to make it better and, promoting what you already, the original Nakatomi Plaza advent calendar. Like, you're never going to come up with this again. But I mean, he's even now he's making probably six figures this year, making this advent calendar out of a Die Hard movie.
That is amazing. Yeah. So it's at the end of the day, if you're making, you just said it, if you're making a really good product and you're getting copied in some way, shape, or form like that, where they change just enough to be their own, that's a compliment. But remember, those sellers need you. Like, you are the creator of it. You're the first one through the wall. Like, you will always hold the primary on all those sales. They're just trying to take some of the cheaper, whatever. So
low hanging fruit. Yeah.
Low hanging fruit. Yeah.
So I'll just take 10 steps back real quick. So 20 months to learn all this stuff, right? So this is 2000, what, 16, 17, 18?
18, 19.
18, 19. Okay. So 20 months, learn all this stuff. And then you're like, I'm going to start transitioning out of the fire department and into e-com. Is that about right? So how did you?
Didn't think that mindset quite yet. So I was doing it on the side. So it was like, okay, great side hustle. Had slightly similar experience where, got a couple injuries. Man, they suck. Injuries suck, dude. And
especially the older we get.
Oh, dude. And then lost a couple friends. And then one died in a fire real close to me. And it was just kind of like the world shaking moment of, I've been now in this e-com game for a couple years. I've now created an income that has matched what I'm making, if not more, in some months. And it created the opportunity to, hey, you know what, let's check this out. And at that point, for me, and I'm never going to be the one that talks you out of your service job. Like, you have a fucking amazing job. Everyone honors it. It's hard work. It's amazing. It's like, I'm not going to talk you out of it. But for me at that time, it was kind of clear that I was not super stoked to be sitting in the seat and driving Big Red. And I knew someone else might want to be there. And now my ass is in the way. And I've created the possible door to walk through, right? So I went on a leave of absence, kind of tested the waters there. Some other things happened in my personal life, like almost lost my dad, some things that took my focus away from the fire service. And more, the longer I was out, the more I realized I could double down on this e-com stuff and make it a real business, make it a real career. And I could answer my own callings as well as get out of the way for the next guy to hop in Big Red. So that's where I made that decision.
So you were a technician. You call them engineers or technicians out there?
Say it again. Engineer. Yeah.
Engineer. Okay. We call them technicians.
Okay.
So you guys are engineer, you're a paramedic. So you're like the trifecta of the fire department. As what does Tyler say? You're the backbone of the fire department.
Paramedics are the backbone of the fire department, baby.
Yeah, they really are. They really are.
So it's crazy. So this goes back to the beginning of the whole conversation is priorities. Like, you have in your mind, your priorities have now shifted just a little bit from where they originated from. Same concept. You want to move forward and help people and do things and be an impact on people, but how you go about doing that might just a little bit, just kind of like these IPs, just a little bit of change, but it'll have an impact on your life and your future. So sounds like to me that the personal experiences in your life kind of started a domino effect of, okay, I'm going to try this. Okay, this happened. Okay, it turned your attention away from what your day-to-day was and kind of made you focus on options. And it's nice to have options, but a lot of people don't have the options because they don't create the ability to have the option. They just hope it kind of falls in their lap. And I say that because my wife, I've got a 4-month-old. So my wife now has an option to work 10 hours a week and make the same as if she was working a 25-hour week, because an opportunity actually just fell in our lap. And it's like,
And
what
she's
do I
at
do
home
with
now
it?
too.
Yeah, she could stay home, not to commute, not to worry about driving in snow and ice and the DC metro traffic. It takes her like anywhere from 30 to 45 minutes to go 8 miles to the hospital that she works at in the morning at 6:30 in the morning. And it's like, is that fair? Do we want to have that? And it's like, okay, are you going to seize this opportunity or let it pass you by? Are you going to create this opportunity, or you're just going to let life happen to you and not take the reins? And it sounds to me like you had a combination of that opportunity. You created the opportunity, and then more opportunities opened up. Your life experiences started changing. The atmosphere probably changed a little bit around your home life. And I was like, okay, I need to take a step back, focus on what my options are, and I'm going to redirect my bandwidth and capacity to something else. And I think all of us have done that. And I think a lot of the people in the fire department who have side hustles do that. They just, here's an opportunity, or here's my mind shift change. Let me just start putting some energy, bandwidth, and capacity towards this item. And it sounds like that's what you did. Am I missing anything?
No, yeah, that's pretty spot on.
Pretty good for two guys in ferns, right?
Yeah. Yes,
So
okay, what's the transition then? Like, at what point were you like, you know what, I'm gonna stick a fork in it? She's done. Like, what was the final straw for you to be like, okay? Was it I've replaced my income, or it was like the mindset of I can double my income, I can have more opportunities? Like, what was the final straw for you to move into the new realm?
Yeah, it was the realization that if I took it from side hustle focus to primary hustle, there's no ceiling, and my impact here can be way bigger. My passion with the fire service had been scathed and scarred, and I was hurting, to be honest, for the last couple years. And whereas anything I was doing in the e-com world and like the relationships I was developing there were very productive and empowering, and it was amazing. And it was like, if I don't make this move now, I don't see myself doing it. I was applying, was in the captain promotional, trying to get on there. Had I gotten the captain bugles, like, I don't think I would have left. So it was kind of like, let's make this decision now, or otherwise it's not going to get made. And I will be dealing with the same frustrations, the same plaguing injuries, the same countless days and hours away from home. At the time I was joking, but I called it the divorce starter kit. I was only home like 8 days a month at that time. Our recall force hires were off the charts, and it was that way for years, and there was no end in sight. And I was just like, dude, if I'm not all in, I'm in the way. Not only am I like killing myself internally, because I'm like in a place where I'm just trying to push through for years, right? This wasn't like a couple months. This was like years of like this frustration, but I'm also in the way of someone else who wants to be here. And like, this is a highly sought after job, and I've created the door, I've created the opening. So the rule of thumb is make sure you at least have 6 months bare minimum of sustained income, of this is what I've made for the last 6 months in this new venture, to know that it's sustainable, that it's scalable, that it's something that I can hop onto. So for me, that's what it hit. And a couple of the other factors, right? Losing a couple buddies, it was just kind of like the kick in the throat to be like, dude, for me, I was sitting in a job that I was super frustrated at and could quite literally kill me any minute. Any next call could be the last one. Like, what am I doing here? And I had that opportunity now to be like, well, like, you get one life, live it well, live it wise, make that decision, make that opportunity. If my fire for fire, pun intended, ever got reignited, maybe I could come back in a few years. But you know what? Maybe this is my time right now to pursue this next opportunity that I've built for the past few years. And that was it. That was the trigger. I just decided.
Well, let's be honest. You have the paramedics, so that's a golden ticket to go wherever you want to. Like, if you don't want to hire you back, like, here's my paramedic, let me back in, and they'd be like, all right, sure, come on back, Sean.
Yeah.
What did your first?
Go ahead, Mike.
What did your first couple weeks, months look like, going from that rigid schedule where it's like, these are the days I work, I don't know when I'm coming back, that to now you just literally have all this free time per se? How did that look? Was that an adjustment period?
Absolutely. So, I mean, for my entire adult life, like 14 years, essentially, I'd been in a career where everything is scheduled, quite literally, to the clothes you wear, to when you can shit, shower, shave, and like literally, here's when breakfast is, here's when workout is, here's when to all of a sudden none of it was scheduled. So that was a big adjustment. And I had an accountability group where a couple of the guys were ex-military, vets, and they walked me through that of being like, you need to create for your own psyche a similar schedule, because otherwise you will flounder. You will literally stare at the wall waiting for that subconscious schedule to kick in that you don't have anymore. So you need to do it exactly like whatever you loved most about the schedule. Like, wake up the same time, work out the same time, like have your own quote unquote lineup, like as ridiculous as that is, like have your own drill, quote unquote, like as goofy as that is, that's the mind that I had grown into. So I needed to keep that. And the moment I started doing that and setting goals in accordance with that, that's when like I really started to thrive. Also, keeping an accountability group. So everything we do, the first responder world, is with a team, is with your crew, is with a battalion. I mean, it's literally all together, and you have that accountability. If I'm fucking up, like everyone else around is going to know it and call me on my shit. So I need
and remind you of it.
Oh, nonstop, right? Oh, yeah. And then you'll joke about it, and then you'll be until the next guy does it, and then you're off the table. But so I also needed that accountability group, and was part of a men's group called K4 Men, great group. But just really focus around refining each parts of your life, and making sure you're like held accountable. So I instituted those into my life, those structures, because otherwise, like, let's be honest, I would have floundered. I'm sure I would have, found some success, but like, holy cow, like the devil's playground is idle hands. So if you really want to screw your life up, like, don't have structure. And that's where I learned truly that structure is what provides room for freedom. Otherwise, lack of structure is what creates chaos.
How did you find your accountability group? Because I know Tyler, Mike, and you have always all done it. My brother's doing it now. He's got a group that he likes, but like not every group is for every person. So how did you find a group that you liked?
It was coincidentally through Functional Hero. So it was reaching out to some people that were working really well in the resiliency space, and found one of the leaders at K4 through an old friend of mine, and it just kind of fell into my lap. But I was asking, I was like searching. So there are a lot of accountability groups out there. I mean, if you're in the church, I'm sure there's accountability groups there. If you're in, a CrossFit group or a jiu-jitsu group, like, I'm sure you can find people there. Like, find people that have like mission, like discipline, and match. Like, that's what you need right there. You don't need to be agreeable and like all your politics and like views in life, but just like, hey, are we getting after it and deciding to wake up at early morning to like do the shit and stay disciplined? Like, let's link up. Let's keep each other on that, right? And yeah, like,
let's be honest, CrossFit's a cult, not a group.
Hardcore agree. Yeah. And I am part of that cult. So yeah, I can snatch and thrust all day long.
I don't want to see any kipping pull-ups, please.
Yeah.
So we're getting long in the tooth here. We're past an hour, and I'd like to keep going if you guys don't mind, just a couple more minutes, because I want to see, like, we've talked about how you got into it, where you're at now, mindset, a lot of stuff, but we haven't talked about the meat and potatoes. Like, what are you selling? Why are you selling that? Why did you pick it? Like, what does your store look like now?
Sure. So we built out over the past few years into 13 brands. We're actually going to start downsizing because, like I said, spread too thin. That's one way to kill growth. Downsizing to a handful and scaling those. So working really hard on, so we were in the pet space, the jewelry space, the home and kitchen space, bed and bath space, men's line space. Like, my first product to Amazon was actually a journal for men, like a daily affirmational gratitude, like mindset journal. So built out a couple brands around all these different products. So I think at one time or another, we had 107 products live. So we scaled, and we scaled fast and too fast. So that's not suggested. And the irony is actually, if you want to sell your brand, what aggregator funds are looking for is a less product brand. So we want to see 3 to 5 products that sell really well versus 50 products that sell okay. So you actually want to hone in on specificity. And then now created, and this just happened organically, but in lack of a better word, a coaching platform. So the nuts and bolts, how to do this step by step for a year. We do a handheld process where we walk you through the actual action items of how not to lose the money that we did and how not to waste the time that we did. And instead of taking 18 to 20 months to get to your first sale, let's do it in 4 to 6 months. And I'll give you quite literally every key to the castle that I have. So I'm not trying to sell myself, but if you signed up with us, or you should be signing up with a really good coach of some sort, if you're going to cut your teeth on this, is I'll be giving you every connection that I have, every platform that I have, every resource that I have. I'm going to teach you how I do everything while also doing it with you, so that you're not wasting time, right? You're not in a classroom learning and then 6 months goes by and now you go apply it. It's that entire 6 months that you were learning, you were also having it applied, whether or not you quite understood what was going on at the moment. That way you've lost no time. And then once you're up and live and running, now it all starts making sense. And you're essentially building the plane in the air, but you're doing it with a guide. And so there's no lost time. And then within the year, we have clients go live and selling and scaling and doing great. And yeah, I think that's where my passion is right now. Bringing on a bunch of firemen and cops recently, because it is a great way to supplement and build that kingdom without wasting too much time and taking time from home, right? I could work 3 more overtimes, or I could develop that into a job that's worth 300 overtimes.
So are you and your wife operating this business with just the two of you, or do you have a staff, some virtual assistants? How does that look?
Sure. We have, I think, a total of 16 people with VAs, account managers, vendors, industry colleagues that we work with, and partners. But primarily, if with the coaching side, that's primarily with us, and then a couple of our account managers. But like, you get us.
So those are all like 1099 or contracted work. It's not like they're
contracted. Yeah.
Not like they're directly employees for you.
Correct. Yeah. That's a whole other ball game with business owning. Which...
Sure. Yeah. No, I don't disagree. I was just curious what it takes to make all that go around.
Yeah. And then, I saw you asked on the chat here, ROI and timeline. I've broken it down. I have a whole projection spreadsheet. So, I will sit down with you guys if you ever want to sit on a call. Reach out to me after this. I'll walk you through it all, what it looks like. But essentially, we've broken it down to by investing around 25 grand over a 6 to 8 month period, you will end up having built yourself a business that is monthly giving you profit, not revenue. So profit is take home what goes in my account, not revenue, which is total sales, right? So after all the cuts, all the cost of your goods, cost of the shipping, cost of Amazon and everything, will get you about 9 to 10 grand a month of income. And which is roughly about, I think it was 130 grand is what it totaled annually. And you can sell that storefront for, I think it's just over 500 grand in about 3 to 4 years. So, this is real. And this is based off of real numbers that we've done. We haven't sold any of our brands yet, but we are getting approached by a lot of aggregator funds for a couple of them. So it is hot and heavy. And there are aggregator funds quite literally worth $7 billion, whose sole purpose is to buy Amazon specific brands. Not brands entirely, but just Amazon only storefront brands. So, this game, it takes the work. It's, the work needs doing. It's not a get rich quick. It will take months, if not over a year. And then the metaphor that I like, and I love that, you guys have the real estate background. The metaphor that I love is it's like building investment property, right? You put in how many thousands of dollars and you don't see any of that back for how long? Right. And then you renovate it and then you get a monthly income coming, but you're in the red, right? You're on your sheet, you're in the red, you're in debt, but at some point or another, that monthly income is cash flow positive, can be really cash flow positive. And then you sell that property for a massive uptake. So very similar, but you didn't get into it to start making money within 2 months, 3 months, 6 months. You got into it because you knew a couple of years from now, this puppy's going to be worth something. Like, this is where the long game turns into something really valuable. So very much the same mindset.
So is the real secret sauce in the exit and not necessarily the monthly cash flow, or is it basically a two-pronged approach?
Two-pronged for sure. So, we enjoy the monthly and we enjoy scaling.
Sure.
So there's no incentive right now specifically to sell. Because what if instead of selling something for 500, I could scale it for another year or two and sell it for 4 million? Like, what if? Right.
That's what's been happening with real estate with COVID pricing over the.
Yeah.
Thought I was going to sell it for this. What if I just hold on to it? So
yeah, exactly. But in this case, right, you're not relying on a market, you're relying on your own sweat equity. So how much am I willing to put in to scale this brand? You know, create affiliate marketing, create like different channels. Am I going to upgrade my listing? Am I do like, there's all these things that you can do to continue to upscale your sales and to make more premium products, right? We're bringing something of true value to the market. So how do we get that to more eyes, to more people, and actually scale it? So essentially, I'm helping influence my own market versus waiting to hear what the Fed says on my real estate market, on the rates, right? So
Sure.
I'm influxing that.
So is there anything that we've missed that you want to talk about?
Ooh, man. I mean, this is a deep rabbit hole for me. So I don't want to get lost too much in the weeds, but yeah, I would just suggest, I mean, hopefully you guys can put in the show notes or something. If anyone listening, or if any of you guys want to talk more about this, we do free calls. You know, it's funny. One of my buddies who I got hired on with wanted to schedule a call with me. He goes, "Do I owe you anything for this?" I was like, "Are you kidding?" Like, I'm not gonna charge you to be on the phone with me, you dork. But
yes, you do.
Beers on you this weekend.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, we'll schedule a free call to really break this down. My whole goal before anything is just to make sure the entire black box is open. There's nothing, no questions, no qualms, no uncertainties of like, how much am I going to spend? How much should I expect to get back? How long is that going to take? What does that entail? Like, you should have all that at your, like, in front of you before you make that educated decision. You know, there's a million ways to make $1 million. This is just one of the ways that I know how. So my goal is to teach it, create it, like make sure it's completely transparent for you. And if it's something you want to move forward on, then let's do it. But otherwise, I will help guide you as best I know how.
Nice.
How many people are you coaching? Sorry.
No, you're fine. I was just going to say, I think this is good too, because a lot of our audience does hear us three and our guests talk about real estate. And I know there is a desire to learn stuff like this. So I would just say, if you are listening and you are interested, schedule a call, or maybe we can even put together a group call in the Facebook group, and you can just, if you don't mind doing something like that, I think it'd be a value to the group, but that's up to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I can break down that. I'll pull up the projection spreadsheet and literally walk through what everything is, how it works, how it goes, whole 36-month timeline, why it's a 36-month timeline. Yeah, absolutely.
So I know we're wrapping up, but one thing I wanted to say, and it's not necessarily particular to real estate or e-com, but we've mentioned accountability groups, and I know we've talked about mastermind, and I know you can flip this switch anytime in the year, but at least for me personally, I love that like fresh start of the year, kind of like a clean slate. Find somebody that, whether it's in the group, on your job, whatever, get an accountability partner for whatever it is you've said you've been going to do for the last 6 months or a year and haven't done. Like whether it's get involved with this business or lose that weight or run that race or whatever it may be, man, because like that's super, super important, I think. And it's easy, myself included, to kind of like let that slide by the wayside. And, you know, I would encourage you, whoever, get an accountability partner for whatever that is that you've been putting off. So
highly agree.
And if nothing else, like fulfill your shiny object syndrome. Like spend some time, learn about it, and be like, oh, look at this over here. This is kind of cool. Like, spend some time learning, and see if it's a good fit for you. Because like, there's obviously, we talk about bandwidth and capacity a lot, and like we all have shiny object syndrome. And like, I love the sound of it. Like, I think it sounds cool. I think it's something you could do, especially with the stay at home, you know, spending more time at home. But like, maybe it's not for me. Maybe once I learn about it, it's like, oh, okay, I would be wasting his and my time. Like maybe it's not a good fit. Just like real estate. Like real estate is not for everybody. So spend some time, see what works for you. See what, you know, tickles your fancy. And if it's something that you want to spend some energy on, then go for it. I like learning. I think everybody in this call likes learning about new stuff. I think it kind of, we're not the kind of people that sit on our hands all day and play video games. We're the kind of guys that like, let me learn something new. If I don't know how to do it, I'm going to watch YouTube to figure out how to, you know, do this topic. So Sean, I applaud your tenacity. I applaud your drive to help people. And I appreciate you hopping on here. You have some great looking ferns there. anybody who's watching, listening, hop on the YouTube.
We didn't even
video.
get into the fact he's a 5'11" model.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm gonna say that's
that one on the next one.
We're doing part 2, definitely, because there's too much information that we missed on this one. So there's a lot we can unwrap.
There was a lot of questions. I was like, oh, that'll be a 20-minute conversation. So I'll hold that.
If you Google Sean Percy Travis, his name comes up, and he's got a pretty face. Let me tell you, this is the kind of video you want to watch YouTube about, not listen to on a podcast.
So Sean, if people want to find out more, follow you, where's the best place to do that?
I would say just off this, my personal email. So SeanPercyTravis@gmail.com. Just send me a hit. Or my Instagram @SeanPercyTravis. Yeah, one of the nice things about the e-com world is you don't have to be an extrovert to do it. So our social platform and presence of the e-com brands is like barely out there. And so it's not needed, is my point. So you don't need to be, showing your family and your face and your dog and everything while you sell all this stuff. Like that's not for me. My wife loves doing that. So you'll find her pet product. It's Nalalaw's pet, named after our dog Nala.
Put that in the show notes for spelling.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so it's pick or choose, but it's definitely not an extrovert thing. But yeah, to find me at Sean Percy Travis.
All right,
nice
guys. That's been an hour and 15. I think it's one of our longer ones. So Sean, thank you for hopping on with us. I expect a part 2. I'm not gonna let you say no, just because I think there's lots more to unwrap, and hopefully we can have like a group thing where we hop on and you can go through and explain the spreadsheets and kind of give guys an idea, because obviously most firefighters, like, this is a foreign topic for us. So to learn more about it, like I think we would get a couple guys on there and be like, oh, this is interesting, let me see if it's something that I can tackle and wrap my head around. So thank you.
Yeah, cool. Thank you.
All right. Well, nobody's got anything else. We can wrap it up. Thanks for hopping on today, and we will catch you guys on the next one.
Take care.
Thank you.